There are 10 rules that every Tesla owner should never break. If you want to have a successful, enjoyable Tesla ownership and you want to maximize your battery life and your range and your efficiency, you should definitely live by these 10 rules. The first rule is the golden rule. The golden rule is do not buy a Tesla if you don't have home charging available. Some people buy Teslas and they don't have home charging. They have to charge at superchargers and public chargers. That takes away probably the biggest benefit of having a Tesla, and that is charging at home at a very low cost of electricity compared to supercharging. And it's the most convenient. You wake up to a full battery every single day, and you never have to stop and charge for your daily driving. You should always charge overnight while you sleep, and that is the golden rule of owning a Tesla. And that brings me into the ABC rule, always be charging rule. It's directly from the Tesla owner manual. Leave the vehicle plugged in as much as possible. Every day when you are done driving for your daily driving and you come park at home, charge it, just plug it in. It becomes a habit. Always plug it in, leave it plugged in. A plugged in Tesla is a happy Tesla. And that brings us into the 80-20 rule. And this rule is all about keeping the charge no lower than 20% and no higher than 80%. All Tesla Model 3, Model Y vehicles sold in the United States right now have nickel-based NCA batteries. And that means you aren't really supposed to charge past 80% for your daily driving if you want to maintain that battery health over the long period of time. It also states in the manual that you really don't want the battery to stay below 20% for a long period of time. And that reveals sort of like a secret about owning a Tesla. You don't really get access to that 100% battery range at all times. So you'll buy a Tesla and it says, oh yeah, you get 350 estimated miles of range on a full charge. Well, you're probably never gonna see that on your normal daily driving. So you're really only getting about 60% of that maximum range for your daily driving because you want to operate in between those 80 and 20 percentages. One of the worst things that you can do for the battery health is go up to a high state of charge, so past 80% and more specifically past 90%. So you rarely want to go between 90 to 100%. The more the car is charged to that high state of charge, the quicker you're going to see degradation on the battery. And plus, when you're above 80% and above 90% charge levels, you're going to lose out on regenerative braking. And that regenerative braking gives you some energy back to the battery. And when you lose out on that, when you're at 90% or 100%, it's going to be less efficient when you drive, when you have that high state of charge. But of course, there are some standard range models that were sold in the past that have LFP batteries, which can be charged at 100% every single day without experiencing any degradation. To find out what car battery you have, you just look on your car settings in the Tesla touchscreen and slide the charging level and it will tell you. Next up is the supercharger etiquette rule, and these are kind of some sub rules wrapped into one, and it's all about superchargers. So the first thing that applies is you should really only supercharge when you're on a road trip. If you have home charging, you should not have to supercharge near your house, only if you're like coming back from a trip. But I also want to say that this is where breaking the previous rule comes into play. So you should definitely avoid charging to 100% or past 80% when you can. But if you're embarking on a road trip, those are the times that I myself will charge to 100%. Those are the only times I charge to 100%. If you do charge to 100%, make sure it's right before you leave on a long road trip. You don't want to leave the car sitting at 100% for a long period of time. So when you're on a road trip, the car will automatically guide you to the supercharger stations, which is great, but there are some rules to follow when you get there. Most of the supercharger stations are going to be back in. Okay, so you want to back into the stall. Do not pull in to the install that's perpendicular to the other stalls. Those are meant and designed for cars that are towing. Do not use that last spot unless all the other spots are taken and unless you are towing something. Also, leave space in between stalls. A lot of stalls to this day are still V2 superchargers. You can tell by looking on the supercharger on the map, and if it says 150 kilowatts, that's a V2. And those superchargers share energy between stalls. So you want to make sure you leave space in between stalls if you can. Not only is it just common courtesy, but you and the other person are going to charge faster. This next rule is called the necessaries. I made that word up, okay? The necessaries rule. It stands for the necessary accessories. At a bare minimum, you first must have the mobile connector. If your car didn't come with it, make sure you get that. That is the #1 most useful accessory for your car because not only can you use it to charge at home on a NEMA 1450 outlet, or if you don't want to install an extra outlet, the mobile connector will actually charge your Tesla on a normal outlet. As long as you're driving under 50 miles per day on average, you can just probably get by with just using that mobile connector Also, the other benefit of having the mobile connector is you take it on road trips. You just throw it in the frunk, just like that's what I do. Every time I go on a road trip, I throw it in the frunk, and when I get to where I'm going, I can charge for free, and I don't have to go out of my way to supercharge. It's more versatile than the wall connector because it gives you the option to charge at home and on the go. The J1772 adapter, keep that in your frunk as well at all times. You might need that at a public charger. And then also the other things that I recommend is a tire repair kit and the jack pucks. If you ever get a flat tire and they need to jack up your car, you'll need these. Now, as I mentioned before, for Tesla owners, home charging is super important for maximizing convenience and cost savings. And today's sponsor, Elecq, makes it easy to charge smarter with the combined use of their flagship home EV charger and new power monitor that together form a complete home energy management system. Homeowners across North America usually face hurdles when trying to install a level 2 EV charger, mainly due to limited electrical panel capacity and the high cost of upgrading service. Elecq aims to simplify this process with its new power monitor, a smart energy management solution that optimizes EV charging, balances household energy usage, and makes solar integration more efficient. Having an EV charger at home can strain a residential electrical system, especially if it's not designed to handle the extra load. Without smart energy control, homeowners risk higher energy bills, underutilized solar power, and system overloads. Elecq addresses this exact problem through active load management, or ALM, which automatically adjusts energy usage in real time, helping avoid costly upgrades or dangerous electrical overloads. The Elecq Power Monitor works hand in hand with their Level 2 EV charger, constantly tracking your home's energy demands. It dynamically manages energy flow to prevent overuse, making your home's electrical system safer and more reliable. With this setup, homeowners can charge their EVs safely without needing to overhaul their electrical infrastructure. For homes with solar panels, Elecq takes efficiency a step further. Its system is designed to maximize solar energy usage for EV charging, reducing reliance on the power grid. There are 3 solar charging modes available: Only Solar, which uses 100% solar power; Solar Priority, which prefers solar but uses the grid if needed; and Unlimited, which uses both to charge your EV at a maximum speed. This tailored approach helps reduce electric bills and boost household energy efficiency. Managing the Elecq system is super easy with the mobile app, which communicates with the system via Wi-Sun technology to ensure a more stable communication with Wi-Fi and Bluetooth as backup options. It lets you schedule charging during off-peak times to save money, view real-time energy use, and download detailed reports. And just like with a Tesla, free over-the-air software updates keep the system current. Another big concern with an EV charger installed at home is safety, which is a top priority for Elecq. Their power monitor and EV charger include high-grade protection against surges, overheating, and other hazards. The hardware is weather resistant and designed to perform in extreme conditions. It even supports electrical panels up to 200 amps, making it compatible with most homes. Now, what sets Elecq apart from some of its competitors is its open, flexible ecosystem. Elecq makes it easy to integrate with a variety of home energy systems, and as smart home devices become more common in households, Elecq chargers can be easily integrated via the OCPP protocol without needing to rewire or modify your existing setup. Overall, Elecq offers homeowners a cost-effective, energy-conscious way to manage EV charging and solar power. It lowers energy bills, boosts clean energy use, and enhances safety without sacrificing performance. With Elecq, smart energy management for your home and EV is achievable by everyone. This next rule is called the 1% rule, and this applies to phantom drain. Now, phantom drain is how much battery your car loses as it sits somewhere unplugged. On average, a Tesla will lose about 1% of battery per day as it sits, but that's just the minimum drain. If you have Sentry mode enabled, plus cabin overheat protection on, where it turns on the air conditioning if it gets too hot, those will drain your battery way more than 1% per day. So this rule comes into play if you're leaving your Tesla sitting somewhere unplugged for a long period of time. Make sure, if you don't need it, turn off Sentry mode and turn off cabin overheat protection. It's going to keep it to that 1% per day, which will most likely be fine. This next rule is called the SOC rule, the SOC rule. So if you're not familiar, SOC stands for state of charge, and that just simply refers to the battery percentage that the car is currently at. When I talked about charging to 80%, that's 80% state of charge or 80% SOC. The SOC rule brings into play some numbers that you want to keep in mind over the long term if you want to maximize the health of your battery. Now, this first applies to supercharging. If you're on a road trip, you want to pull up to a supercharger with the lowest SOC as possible without causing you anxiety. This will allow you to supercharge at the maximum rate. For example, you want to pull up into a supercharger with, let's say, 20% of battery compared to pulling up to a supercharger with 40 or 50%. The battery will charge much more quickly from 10% to 50% compared to 40% to 80%. So they're both charging 40% of the battery, but one is going to be much faster. The higher state of charge you start supercharging at, the slower the speeds are going to be. And then tying back to the 80-20 rule, when you're at a supercharger, you're most likely never going to charge past 80% because that last 20% is going to take a very long time. So it's almost not worth your time. And Tesla does a good job at this. Their navigation usually will automatically route you and tell you, hey, you're good enough to stop charging and go on to your next supercharger. Another state of charge percentage that you want to keep in mind is 60%. That is the optimal state of charge over the life of the vehicle that you want to be at to maximize the health of the battery. And a good app to use is Recurrent. And that's a free app to use. You can connect your car to that and it will tell you the average state of charge over the lifetime of the car. And if you're really nerdy about maximizing the battery life and the battery health, you want to have that number as close to 60%. The other SOC number that you want to keep in mind is 50%. 50% is what you want to keep your Tesla charged at if you are going away from home for a long time and if you're leaving it plugged in so the car will constantly stay at 50%. So if you really want to take care of your battery, remember all those SOC percentage numbers and you'll be good. This next rule is called the schedule rule. That's what I shortened it. It didn't really save time, but a schedule rule is what it stands for. So that is all about scheduling the battery because there are some things to keep in mind. When you're on a road trip and you need a supercharge, you want to make sure you have that entered in your destination and in the navigation because when you do that, the Tesla will automatically precondition your battery for when you arrive. And this is especially important in the cold winter temperatures. If you arrive at a supercharger and need to charge with a cold battery and the battery has not been preconditioned, it's going to be very slow. So you want to make sure you have that supercharger in your navigation, entered into your destination, and your Tesla will automatically precondition the battery, and that is huge. You also can do this at home with the schedule feature. You can go and schedule your charging overnight. Scheduling at home is very important for two reasons. First, the preconditioning is going to precondition your battery. Again, this is important in the colder winter months. It's going to have your battery at an optimal temperature. So if you are leaving every day at 7 a.m., set your schedule to finish charging and preconditioning your battery at 7 a.m. and you'll have full regen braking and maximize your efficiency. The second reason is to save money. Most electricity utility companies will offer a discounted lower rate overnight. For example, from midnight to 6 a.m. So definitely check with your local electricity company and see if that's available to you. So scheduling is very important when it comes to charging your Tesla. This next rule is coined the Walrus rule, W-A-L-R-U-S, Walrus. That stands for all the key factors that impact your driving efficiency, which therefore impacts your range. And we know that range is king. You always want to maximize your range. So what that stands for is weather, acceleration, load, regen braking, uphill, and speed. Weather is one of the top factors of range. It's going to make or break some of your drives. There was one time where I was driving into the wind. It was a perfect October night, but it was directly into the headwind and I barely made it home. And that's something that you don't really think about. And of course, precipitation, rain and snow will definitely impact your range. If it's raining heavily, you're going to get worse efficiency on the road. So make sure you consider weather when you're road tripping. And what's really cool, the latest software update for the Tesla will show you a radar on the map, which is very helpful. The second one, acceleration. If you're accelerating like a madman all the time, it's going to impact your efficiency negatively. So just be gentle with the acceleration. And Tesla makes this easy by just changing your driving mode to chill. Chill is going to reduce your acceleration speed. It takes the fun out of driving Tesla, but it also maximizes your efficiency. L is going to be load. You want to reduce the load and the weight inside your vehicle. This can mean giving yourself way extra buffer room if you have a car load of people. If you have 5 people plus cargo bags, packed to the max, give yourself way more range, way more buffer than you usually would. And of course, this applies to if you're towing something, you're really going to lose range. If you have cargo storage mounted on your roof, all that will negatively impact your range. Regen braking is next, and that is you want to maximize regen braking. When you're driving a gasoline vehicle, you're always told that stop and go traffic is worse on gas mileage. It's kind of like the opposite in a Tesla. When you're in stop and go traffic, you're kind of using the regen braking to brake, and that regen braking is going to feed energy back into your battery. So compared to if you're on a long stretch of highway, which is what most road trips are, you're on an interstate going 80 miles an hour sometimes, and you're going to get worse energy efficiency compared to what you're daily driving, what you're used to for your daily driving. U is for uphill. You're going to use way more battery going uphill compared to just going flat or downhill. It's just science. So if you're going somewhere on a road trip, make sure you're aware of the levels of terrain. If you're going uphill a lot, you're going to lose a lot of range. And then last but not least is speed. Speed is probably the most important factor that you have control over. Top speed is what you want to pay attention to. You want to avoid anything above 75 miles an hour if you can. The slower you go, the more range you're going to get. In fact, Tesla says energy from speed is proportional to the square of the speed. So by doubling your speed, you're increasing your energy consumption by a factor of 4. So someone driving 40 miles an hour compared to somebody driving 80 miles an hour, the 80 miles an hour is using 4 times more energy, which is crazy. Now this rule is called the Earth separation rule. This is kind of like a life rule that corresponds to a Tesla rule. So never cheap out on anything that separates you from the ground. And that usually consists of 3 things: a mattress, shoes, and tires. Tires are super important for your Tesla. So not only are they a safety hazard if you don't replace them or rotate them, they also are one of the top things that affect your range. One of the easiest things that you can do and the most effective things that you can do is make sure that your tires are properly inflated. Underinflated tires can lead to reduced energy efficiency because it's going to increase the rolling resistance. So always keep one of these small tire inflator pumps in your car, and you have it at all times. You can pump up your tire at any time and always keep your tires inflated properly. It's going to help out with your ride quality and your efficiency. And another point about tires, make sure you're buying good quality tires. You want to have a good set of all-season tires. And if you're in a climate that has bad winters and snowy wintry conditions, make sure you have a set of winter tires, because guess what? The Tesla rear-wheel drive single motor cars with winter tires are just as good as having all-wheel drive. An all-wheel drive Tesla with bad tires is pretty much useless. You could have an all-wheel drive Tesla with bad tires and it won't give you any benefit of an all-wheel drive if you're in snowy, wintry, rainy conditions. I always get my tires from Tire Rack, and in fact, I'll share this very useful spreadsheet that I found on Reddit that lists all the tires and all the different qualities of tire for Tesla specifically and how they rank. So you can use this list to choose your tire based on the budget you have. So that wraps up my top 10 rules for owning a Tesla if you want to maximize your range, maximize your efficiency, and maximize your battery health. If you have any other tips yourself, please leave them in the comment section below. If you want to see more Tesla and tech videos in the future, make sure you subscribe. My name is Andy. Thank you so much for watching. Talk to you in the next one.